Welcome to the Let's Have a Chat podcast. I'm Challaine, a best-selling new release author as well as a life and recovery coach. I was inspired to host this podcast to continue to share my story, but to ultimately connect with others on a more soulful level, as communication is key to understanding ourselves and those around us. We are going to chat about substance use, parenting, business, setbacks, but ultimately breakthroughs. So let's dive in. Take what you need and leave the rest. Thanks for being here. Now let's have a chat.
And welcome to today's episode of Let's Have a Chat. I am super stoked to have Louie Bischoff here, she's the founder of the Sober Relationship Blueprint. And honestly, many of us are in relationships and either one or both people turn to alcohol or gambling or drugs as a coping mechanism in those relationships. Louie's here today to help us work on our sobriety and our relationships at the same time. So that is like a win-win for me. So thank you, Louie. Thank you for being here. Your energy is infectious. And how the hell did you get from being so messy to sending us a beautiful message?
Yeah, right. Hi, everybody. Actually, it's so great to be here. I love that. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. Being able to take turn that mess into a message. And that certainly has been my experience of being able to go through the learning and growth time of being in active addiction and being now in recovery and in sobriety and being able to share with others my journey, not just around and into sobriety, but also, as you mentioned, about being the founder of the Sober Relationship Blueprint and helping others create better relationships as they've gotten sober and in recovery. So it's great to be here.
Like sober. How many years of sobriety do you have?
I just finished 12. I got sober in 2012.
Yay. Congrats. That's awesome. You say that sobriety starts with self-esteem. How did we get there? Because many of us are so hard and so low on ourselves. And I think I know for me personally, when I was drinking, alcohol gives us self-esteem, right? It gives us that confidence that, woo, we can do anything. So can you kind of tap into that a little bit of sobriety and self-esteem? How do we become, how do we find that?
Well, I know that I can say that how do we find self-esteem and sobriety? I'm just going to use the cliche, it's one day at a time. But the reason why I say one day at a time is only because it does take time. And it's a really, really, really important, because I know I'm raising my hand over here, is that the reason that I was doing the things, I mean, there's lots of reasons, I'll say that. But I'll just say that in simplified terms, the reason why I was doing lots of things that I don't wish to be doing anymore, and that includes drinking alcoholically, that includes involving myself with people I didn't need to be involved with, and waking up in bedrooms I didn't need to be waking up in, is because I was looking for that external validation. Yeah, exactly. I was looking for that external validation for something that I didn't know that at the time, but something that was missing inside of me. So that aspect of the lower self-esteem and recognizing like, oh, this person thinks I have value, or I don't feel comfortable in this situation, so I'm going to drink, or I'm going to take drugs, or just alter my mental state so I feel better because I don't feel like enough. So one of the things about, well, it's actually the main thing about Sober Relationship Blueprint is that each word, each letter of the word sober is a specific area of learning.
Yes, I love this.
Yeah, so exactly with the S, I mean, the S stands for self-esteem, the O stands for openness, the P stands for boundaries. Who knew that there were boundaries? Like, now I know, but back in the day. The E stands for evolving into other intimacies, but besides just sexual intimacy. And then the R stands for readiness, about readiness to be able to go out and do different things, build different relationships. So the S, like you said, is all around self-esteem. And that's why I start there, because being able to build up self-esteem through being able to start to learn who you are. I thought I knew who I was when I got sober. I'm like, I know who I am. I put my hands on my hip. I put a little hit, a little hit that, what was it? The hit chuck out there, just like a little, that little,
Yeah.
I got this, and like, oh my gosh, what the heck? Like, now I sit back, I'm like, I didn't know what I do now. I'm much better at realizing who I am now.
Are
But I
you?
got to that through learning about self-esteem and having working professionals, working with other mentors, and being able to gain little by little my own sense of self. So I appreciate you starting with that question.
I love this. I really want to dive into this blueprint with you, but are you open to sharing a little bit of your story? Like, how did you get to being sober? How did you find the passion to help others and to coach other individuals on getting sober and their relationships? There's got to be a personal tie. That's what I'm finding with everyone that I'm talking to. They move into these new trajectories of their lives, and it's because it's emotionally connecting to us for some reason.
Yeah, for sure. So the question is, how did I get started, right? Is how am I here? What's a little bit of my story? And
Give us some messy bits of it.
I appreciate you asking. I will definitely share what feels comfortable to share without any issue at all. I share my story on a frequent basis. So there's not, I learned way back in the day, a long time ago, is that we're only as sick as as our secrets. So I'm just not in that secret space anymore.
Say that again
We're
for
only as
people in
sick
the
as our,
back.
yeah, we're only as sick as our secrets. And so I just don't have the secrets anymore. I mean, I used to. I used to live a double life. And when I say double life, I mean most addicts can identify with that. Like, oh yeah, I'm hiding my drinking or hiding my drug use. Yes, that is it. That is it. Being an active addiction. But a little bit about my story is just kind of the highlight versions is I grew up
Post
in a,
notes.
yeah, exactly. I grew up in a domestic violence household. My dad beat us up, me and my two brothers, my mom. And so it was just constant instability, constant chaos, not seeing aspects of boundaries, of being respected, not having a sense of self, not having a sense again of safety, and just not having a sense of worth. Because that was certainly the message for me that I felt that I heard is that I had no value, whatever that looked like. So the reason why I'm mentioning that is that for me, my primary addiction is sex and love addiction, and interlaced with codependence. So being in the domestic violence household, my parents were self-employed and I was the oldest. So I wanted to make sure like things at home were as calm as possible. So I just took on more responsibility and more responsibility and more responsibility, caretaking for my younger brothers, caretaking at the house, getting rewarded like from my mom. Good job. Thank you for helping so much. So as I went into adulthood, I'm moving into adulthood with a lot of codependence and a lot of caretaking, which is not a negative thing. It's not a negative thing. But what I say is that none of my behavior is bad behavior. It's not bad. It's just that like I have the volume turned all the way up to 10 and that needle is pinging in the red zone. So being able to be a caretaker, just kind of that middle volume of like 5 is good. But a hyper caretaker, it just is controlling, it's just restricting. And these are the things I've learned. So when I say the sex and love addiction is that I was in relationships just continuously trying to find value, looking for that external validation for myself. There's a phrase that's called LAVA, LAVA, and it's love, attention, validation, and affirmation.
And this goes with the codependency.
So if I take those 4 letters of LAVA, the love, attention, validation, and affirmation, and I place that on my behavior, I can see like, here's me wanting to get the validation by wanting to control things or keep things in line. Oh, here's me looking for love, like not being able to have boundaries. Here's me wanting to have affirmation, like, oh, you're doing really great. So just a little bit of that and I'll finish up. It just, had like I said, many relationships, codependent relationships. For me, it wasn't in toxic relationships.
Did you
I was never.
find, sorry to interrupt, did you find that in any of your relationships that you and your partner, there was codependency there? Or was it just like one-sided?
Yeah, great question. So in my relationships and my understanding and what I've learned and what I've been taught and what I've studied, and I go to CODA also, Codependence Anonymous. I go to SLAA, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. I go to SAA, Sex Addicts Anonymous, along with AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. And to your question, yes, in my experience, to be codependent, other people have to be in that dance as well. And my partners certainly were the relationships that I had, but they don't just have to be they don't just have to be romantic relationships. Enmeshment can be with parents, family members, kids, people at work. So for me, my understanding is just a lot more of learning more about yourself, like you said, about self-esteem, and learning more about boundaries, personal boundaries, work boundaries,
Tough
spatial
for a lot of
boundaries.
people. Yeah, that can be really tough. You have children.
Mhm.
How did your upbringing and your relationship with your mother um, kind of shape the woman and or the mother that you are today? What did you take from you growing up to, hey, I'm a mom now. You don't want to repeat these behaviors, or did you repeat some of the behaviors as you were growing up?
Oh, I love that question because that's certainly been the most difficult for me. And it actually dovetails really nicely and just to kind of finishing up about more about my story. So the aspect around multiple relationships, not being present, the codependency, the in my marriage, I was with my husband for almost 20 years and I had 90% of the power and he had 10%. I didn't want to end up, like my mom, air quotes, like my mom,
Remember
being,
you? Yeah.
yeah, being controlled by a
Yeah.
male. And so I put myself into positions and chose relationships where I had the extreme power in the relationship and my partner had little. Spoiler alert, it really is not that great of a place to be. So
Yeah.
the reason why I wanted to say that is I didn't have healthy coping mechanisms and turning to the alcohol or turning to other people for figuring out to find some comfort. The reason why I'm adding that into talking about being a mom and what that looked like is for me, my marriage and again my relationship with my husband is that and when I say I had the power, I mean for my relationship, I worked. I supported us. I
Okay.
qualified for the mortgage. I qualified for the car payments. I made the car payments. He stayed home. He took care of the kids. He cleaned. He cooked. He's much better at that than I was. And I was
I
much better at working than he was.
I call them great aha moments. Over I could coin the term aha moment, but I call them very well moments. And as in listening to you speak, I had like a massive brain wow moment of when you said, "I got the car loans, I got the mortgage, and I like have purchased all that." Holy shit, that was me in previous relationships, and what an eye opening time this is right now to be like, oh my god, that was
Yeah.
me. And no kidding, I don't have relationships anymore. But it's interesting to see my life unfold in your voice. Yeah.
Yeah, that goes back into the codependency, right? In order for me to do that, he had to play his role. So it wasn't a partnership. It wasn't an equal relationship. It was, I can't speak for him, but I imagine it was not easy for him either staying home and not because he's male, simply because like staying home and taking care of the kids can get really difficult and trying. So I do have two kids or we have two kids. I still am actually in great communication with their dad, with my ex-husband. We've been out of our marriage since 2010. It's now 2024. So it's
Yeah.
a long time. But to back to your question is that when I had the children, as I said, I was working, he was staying home. I was so resentful of my kids. No, I'm not resentful of the kids. That's not what I meant. What I mean is like, I was so resentful that me, the female, was the one that like had to interrupt my life. And this is just me communicating. I'm just me being honest. I was not one of those women that's like, I'm still trying to be pregnant. Not a judgment. I'm just saying that wasn't me. That's all that is. When I had the children, I was resentful that I was the one that had to breastfeed them. Not a judgment. That's just where I was at the time. That's all that it is. Because I worked all the time, I stayed gone and he stayed home. I was traveling a lot for work. So I also got into the words what I know now is I got into a whole lot of entitlement personality and entitlement mindset in the relationship. And a whole lot of you were asking about the kind of mom I was. And it was just kind of like, it was so easy for me to disconnect and disassociate from being a mom of being with the kids and being in active addiction. Because, like, that's what gives me relief is being in active addiction. And I'm working and I can't handle the kids, and then the marriage is not very, and like, I have to figure everything out in the marriage. And I'm not making an excuse. It's just like, these are my thoughts at the time that I can recognize now. The reason why my marriage came to an end is not because there was discovery about other relationships. It's not because of my alcoholism. It's because for me, and this specifically answers your question, is because for me, at that time, my kids were then 6 and 8 when we got divorced, because I sat still for myself. And I said to myself, that's not the relationship that I, as the mother, want to have with my kids as I had growing up. So the relationship that I had with my parents was work was number one, work was number two, work was number three, family was maybe number 100 importance. That's not the relationship I wanted to have with my sons. That's also not the I wanted them to have in their life growing up. I wanted them to know that they were important and that they were loved and that they mattered. So I changed everything about my life.
Understood.
I became self-employed so I could have time with them. I made sure that I was able to then be able to be around and be available for school things. I got divorced in 2010. I got sober in 2012. When I started to get sober, they were young. They were 8 and 10 when I got sober. They just went to 12-step meetings with me. And I'm just saying, like, for me, that 12-step meetings works for me. I know that there's lots of other programs out there, like your program, that helps people to be able to gain that sobriety and have, again, not a judgment, but have a better life. That just was happened with me. Be more present for my kids and the relationship I had with them. And I'll just finish with this, is that they're now 20 and 22, and that at 20 and 22, these young men, because they've seen me and they've seen me walk the walk and talk the talk, the young men they are today are far different than the young men they would have been if I would have still been active addiction, lying, cheating, total different life separated from my day to day. And my relationship would have been different. Like, they're really great friends with me, and I don't mean friends like they're my friends, but friends mean that they'll reach out to me for advice, or they'll reach out to me just to say hi and different things like that, and that's great. I love that.
I love that for you. I am so proud of you. Like, what an amazing, amazing story. Like, absolutely incredible. Hey, I'm going to assume you started dating again. For so long? How did it take for you to, I guess, find that self-esteem and put yourself out there? And you talk about dating and online dating and how to do it sober. Now, when I think of that, it's kind of cringy to me. I mean, I'm sober, yeah. But if we think of like an outsider's perspective, that's going to be hard because what are the typical first dates, right? Like it's going out to a restaurant and having wine and you go at that person's face and just get wasted and have sex, right? Like that's kind of me. I mean, movies don't tell the truth, but that's what we see. That's our impression of dating, right? So how do we how do we date sober? I'm really intrigued by this. And there's another question on top of that. Does it have to be with another sober person?
Okay.
Woo! Loaded
So,
questions.
yeah. So what I hear you saying basically is, how do you do sober relationships as a single person, and what does that look like? And so,
How do
as
you
I
find
mentioned,
someone that fits this new mold of who you are, right? Because
yeah.
maybe we can tend to just go back into old patterns of what we know, right? So yeah, speak on that for a minute.
Oh, okay, thanks. All right. So actually, it's great. It's a great question. Is basically, yeah. So how do I do things differently, or how do I show up differently, or what does this look like? How do I build? And I'll stick on romantic relationships and dating relationships, love relationships. From there, yeah, my marriage ended in 2010, and like a good addict and codependent, raising my hand, I got into a relationship within like 2 months later, because I was still drinking. I was still in active addiction, and that person and we had a whole lot in common. We were both active alcoholics. So being able to be in that space with that person, and then actually he and we did get sober together for 2 more years. So we were together about 4 years, 2 years drinking together, and then 2 years sober. And still, like you were saying, just being in those same patterns. It was not a healthy relationship because I wasn't a healthy person. So being able to, the sober relationship blueprint is exactly what you're talking about. It's what I created, not because I was just sitting down one day and I just took my proverbial little quill out of the ink and started to come up with an idea. It's because I lived it, and I started dating, not with the intention of getting into a relationship. Not at all. I started dating to get in with the intention of like, oh gosh, let me see what I can do differently. Do I keep dating the same person, or can I start to have boundaries? Or can, like, if somebody says, like, I specifically remember, Challaine, one of the first times I started showing up in sobriety with this direction of like, okay, Louie, you got this, Louie, you could be different, you got this. Went out on a date, and the guy was, he's fine. I mean, he's like solid neutral, and
Solid neutral. I love that.
yeah,
Yeah, he was good. He was good.
it
Solid
was
neutral.
solid neutral, but I was just like, I wasn't, like I said, creeped out by him, but it's just like nothing was interesting about it. And so he's like, I really am enjoying talking to you, and like, can we walk around the shops afterwards and chat a little bit? So, okay, I'll walk around the shops and chat a little bit. And he's like, but then I'd really like to kiss you. Can I kiss you? I'm like, no, I don't want to kiss you. And, and he was like, okay. And for me, just kind of what you're saying, like, for me, I'm like, but I mean, of course I know people can have boundaries, but I never thought I could. Like, in the behavior that I would usually do, I don't want to hurt his feelings, the people
Right.
pleasing, the like, I don't really want to kiss you. That's okay. I'll just sacrifice my own self and my own thoughts, my own feelings, because I don't have enough sense of worth.
How
And
did
then
you feel in that moment when you were like, no, I don't want to kiss you?
I
Did you
felt,
shock yourself?
yeah, absolutely. I felt scared.
What
Like,
is
I'm like,
this?
yeah. Like, wait, I'm looking for how to, like, where did that magic superpower come from? And back to just like that aspect about what you asked about self-esteem, that's that little tiny baby step of self-esteem. Like, I can say no. It's not about really big things. It's just like, no, I just don't want to be kissed. Oh, I really want to see you again. I really, this isn't a fit for me. That's okay. And just kind of tying that in. And that's how I built the sober relationship blueprint. And having each letter of the word sober be a specific area of learning is that aspect of going through it. And specifically to your question about dating and dating in sobriety and dating online, the short answer is like, no, you don't need to date someone else that doesn't drink or isn't an active addiction. I mean, if you're a gambler and you're dating someone else who's a gambler, like, I'm not saying that's a yes, yes, or a no, no. It's just like every individual is different. Meaning each person that I work with and that you work with, they're different people. I mean, there's some more generalities, but I certainly, as an alcoholic, I've dated people who drank. I dated people who drank only one time a month, and I dated people who drank like 5 or 6 beers a day. Spoiler alert, also, do not recommend that. No, I didn't.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to drink. That wasn't it. But I'm like, this isn't the kind of person that I want to spend my time with. is someone who is drinking 5, 6, 10, not a judgment, just a statement, of beers a day, because I was that person. I woke up and started drinking. I drank throughout the day. I went to sleep drinking, hit it, all of the different kinds of things that we all hear about. I know what that's like. I know what that's like. I lived that life. And what for me, over time, what I've discovered is that what's the right word? I resonate more with people with their value system and how they show up as an individual overall versus, check the box whether they drink or they don't drink, whether they're in active addiction or not active. I mean, it's a more complex aspect. Then regarding online dating, what I do suggest to the clients that I work with and building those relationships and showing up in their own authenticity is like you said, like, oh my gosh, let's go out for a first date and we'll meet for a drink. Is I also start off, and I'm going to say this right out of the gate here, is that I start off with my client and let's make a dating plan. And
Yes.
that sober dating plan is for that person, for my client. And they're literally fill in the blanks because it doesn't matter. I'm not going to kiss until fill in the blank number of dates. You can put 0. It doesn't matter. You could put 3. And then we work together on that aspect of their own integrity and their own direction so that they start to get the self-confidence. They start to be more open to new things, start to learn about boundaries, learn about evolving into other intimacies like emotional intimacy, and ready for the different directions of their life. And what I want to say is specifically is that I do support people putting the word sober into their dating profile.
I think that weeds out a lot of
Yes.
yeah,
It
a lot
weeds
of
out a lot and it
a lot
allows
of neutrals.
correct. And it allows
Okay.
you to stand in your integrity.
Yes.
You don't have to tell your story. That's not it. But you just said, I enjoy my sober lifestyle. Or, I don't know what you need to say. I mean, I work on different wording. I was just working with a client who's a single female. She's 39 years old and she wants to change her dating patterns. And okay, Louie, let me look at my profile. So we did a screen share. We went over the wording. We added sober in there. We looked at her pictures because she wants to do something different, right? So the aspect around starting the dating plan, saying like the first date is just going to be 90 minutes. It doesn't start on Friday night and end
I
on
love
Monday
that.
morning.
I love that. Putting a plan together and literally having a set time amount.
Yeah.
Be like, I'm going to share my time with you for 90 minutes or 3 hours or whatever the case may be. And that's totally a part of your blueprint. Your blueprint. B, boundaries. And setting this boundary for myself before it even happens. And you talked about it a little bit about having things in common with people, which can be important. But when it comes to dating, it's having common values that we can really excel in relationships, right? Like I can like the color blue or the color purple or like travel, and you may like those same colors and like to travel as well. But if you think that cheating is okay, and I don't think cheating is okay, or what stays in Vegas, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and those values, they need to align, right? So we can have 1,000 things in common in the world, but if our values don't align, then we're definitely not on the road for success in a relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and what you're talking about, Challaine, is, in my understanding, my experience, and what I work with my clients on, and I'm sure you talk to your clients about this too, is being in recovery or getting sober. And right, because getting sober is stopping the drugs and alcohol, and I'll just speak about chemicals. It's binary. In my experience, is being able to say like either I'm drinking or I'm not drinking, either I'm drugging or I'm not drugging.
Yes.
It's a binary decision. But once I stop the chemicals and my brain kind of just readjusts a little bit, there's all the behavior stuff. And that's why I go to the other behavior groups too. And that's why I work on a lot of behavior things, the codependence or learning how to build relationships. Because I've got, for me, as this addict, as this human being, I needed to learn other intimacies, and especially around emotional intimacy. And I wanted to verbalize regarding dating, and I know that I was certainly guilty of this for a long time, is that sense of like trauma bonding or sharing my story really early in a relationship and I'm creating a false sense of emotional intimacy because I'm like sharing all this stuff about the way I grew up, or this is what happened to me in high school, or this is what happened to me in college, or this sexual. I'm creating a sense, but actually, what I've learned is that people have to earn the right to hear my story. I have to build trust with people. I had to learn how to build trust. And just that aspect of building emotional intimacy creates an opportunity to find out what are those value alignments. What are the values? And I don't want to just say like, oh, it's just Midwestern values. Oh, it's traditional family values.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what that means. Tell me break it down. What does that look like for you? Like you're saying, if you want ethical non-monogamy, as you were saying, like cheating's okay for you, but it's not okay for me. Not a judgment. But if that's where you want to be in a relationship, that's not where I want to be. I want to be in a committed monogamous relationship.
I love that. And you keep saying, not a judgment. It's not in depth. It's not a judgment. That's just where I am. These are just my thoughts and my feelings. And that's where I stand, knowing myself now. I'm not judging you. You do whatever you want. It's not a judgment. I love that.
Thank you.
We're talking about dependency, and there's 5 different types. According to Louie, there's 5 different types. School me, please.
Yeah. Well, like who knew?
Right.
Who knew? I thought there was, and many people do. I thought there
Because
was.
I'm thinking, you know where I go? I'm going on bases. I'm like, okay, there's 3 bases. We all know what the home run is, kissing's first base, and we all know what base number 2 is. So, I'm assuming we're not talking about bases here.
No, we're not talking about bases of first base, like you said, first base,
Okay.
second base, third base, home. No. Because actually, that analogy would all fall into sexual intimacy. So the sexual intimacy, and that's what I thought, because for me, I was so shut down, Challaine, and I was so disassociated, separate from my spirit, from my body, or my soul, whatever you want to say. I was just so compartmentalized that my body was able to do so many things, but like my spirit was so shut down, I was never there because it was all just sexual. That's the only way intimacy that I knew was just sexual intimacy. And that's how I had some kind of a feeling, just because again, just so much of the disassociation. And what I've learned is that is one type of the 5 intimacies is sexual intimacy. So the way that I present it to clients and when I work with people is there's 5 different kinds. So I'll start with intellectual intimacy.
I'm taking notes here. I'm writing this shit down. Yeah.
I'll speak slowly. Intellectual intimacy, spiritual intimacy, emotional intimacy, physical parentheses non-sexual intimacy. So that's going to be cuddling, hugging, caress, and then sexual intimacy. It's 5.
Okay.
So I'll just say those again. Intellectual, emotional, spiritual, physical, parentheses, non-sexual, and then sexual intimacy.
Are you able to differentiate, for me and our listeners, the difference between emotional and spiritual?
Yeah. I love that. Love that question. What is the difference between emotional intimacy and spiritual intimacy? So I will communicate about emotional intimacy. So emotional intimacy is going to be that aspect around feelings, around emotions. And for me, that took quite a while. I know one of the people I work with, she and I, we just kind of kid around. She wants to get a new tattoo with like that whole emotions wheel on her leg so that she could be like, when people, how do you feel? She's like, I'm going to look at that tattoo. And like, okay, the tattoos, here's my reference. But it's starting to get in touch and learn about, not just learn about my emotions and feelings, but being able to articulate it. So let me stay on that just for 1 second. Challaine, I appreciate your patience on this, is that I know for myself as a trauma response, and these, again, the words I know now, is that, for example, you would tell me, I'm just coming up with a hypothetical. On Sunday, you would tell me, like, hey, Louie, what you did when I asked you to bring me that box of papers, and you brought the box of papers, but you just slammed it down on the floor, and it was supposed to go on the desk. And, I really don't like that, and I really don't think that that's really very good of you to do that. Oh, okay. My response would be, oh, okay. Which is not a bad response. That's not a bad response. But then, like, it wouldn't be until Friday, like that happened on Sunday, it wouldn't be until Friday that I would sit still and I would finally feel like, oh, that really hurt when Challaine said that. That really made me feel sad. That made me feel angry. That made me feel like I wasn't, whatever story I'm coming up with in my head. But it is so, again, disassociated from the time of when it happened. It's like 5 days later when I'm able to now feel that I felt hurt or I felt angry or if I felt frustrated, whatever that is, right? So as I learn about emotional intimacy, I myself bring that time period closer to real time. And for me, the work I've done now it's in real time, that if you spend that, I could say, oh, I understand that you're feeling frustrated about me bringing the box and putting it in the wrong place, and I apologize about that. Then also, hey, when we have these kinds of conversations again, would you mind just to say it a little bit nicer? I would be able to feel better about that communication between us and our relationship.
I feel that you would have just gained 5 days of mental like clarity or stillness because you weren't processing that for 5 days and sitting on it and just murking in that mucky water for 5 days. So you got to come after it, and we could just dealt with it at the beginning, right? So it's like you're giving yourself more time in your life, like dealing with your shit as it's happening in real time.
Right, but I didn't know how. I had to learn how and be guided and mentored. It's not just sitting still in the corner and meditating. In my experience, it's the aspect of doing the actions and making the mistakes.
Do the fucking
And
work.
getting better, making the mistakes, and getting better at making the mistakes, and being guided with a coach like you or with a coach like me, and having people who mentor you and move you through that. So being able to start to understand my own feelings, B, start to articulate my own feelings, and then C, be open to hearing the other person's feelings and being able to respect that. Not like, oh my God, you're wrong. God, that sucked. Why did she say, like, I was wrong for putting the box on the floor? Like, now I'm in the victim. I'm just in that bad space. I'm not respecting you. I'm not respecting your feelings. But that
goes back to that judgment. There's a judgment.
Exactly. Okay. It has to be twofold. I need to learn about myself and learn that you're a human. Also, you're doing the best you can, and be in that space of tolerance, no judgment, and the aspect of being able to respect you. So those are some of the things about emotional intimacy that I've learned and that I work with my clients on. And then just to have the other side of the coin on what you were asking about regarding spiritual intimacy. So building spiritual intimacy with another person, again, all of these still go back to me first. I build my own spiritual intimacy. Maybe I am doing meditation. Maybe it's church. I don't know what that looks like for you. For me, here's one part of my spiritual intimacy that's really important to me. Each day, there's a global Zoom meeting. There's like 30 people to 45 people. Not a lot, but I mean, still global, lots of different time zones. In my time zone, I'm on Pacific time zone. I'm the earliest at 4 o'clock in the morning. But the reason why I'm saying that is this is a daily affirmation meeting. The meeting starts with a little reading. It's a little guided meditation for 5 minutes. And then each person unmutes and they say, my intention for the day is to be able to be present with my kids as they're going back to school and be able to not get frustrated and have it to be a positive experience for them. I don't know.
Is this open to everyone? I remember this. Is this open to everyone?
Yeah.
Can I share in the show notes a link to
where I'll send
we
you
can
the
come together as a community and do these outreaches?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fantastic.
Oh, I love it.
That's really cool.
So I love it because it's an aspect about, and then the other part of it is that you unmute, you say this is my intention or great with gratitude. That's all fine. I mean, I'm not making light of it, but then everyone else unmutes and everyone else says, yeah, good job. You got this. Way to go. You're going to do this. Like, things are going to be great with your kids. I'm excited for them to go back to school. But then guess what? When I do the days that I do this, Challaine, my days go better.
That's filling your bucket. Like as soon as you get out, you're filling that bucket.
Yeah, there's my spiritual intimacy. It's important to me to have that, to extend my spiritual growth, my spirit, because I am connecting to the energy of other humans whom I interact with on a day-to-day basis.
And I just want to throw in there, you're not talking about anything religious here when we talk about spirituality and this practice.
Correct.
Yeah, like it's.
However, for some people, it may include religion. That's not judgment. Just it would. Some people it will. Some people it won't.
Yeah, I love that.
It's like a comfort.
This group, I need to get on this group, and is it video as well, or is it all just microphone? It's zoomed to you, and you can. I love that. Just everyone's like cheering for you, and and then when you receive so much that love and those affirmations back, you filled your bucket, so your bucket is full. I guess that you get to put out to the world.
Yeah, and I want to just comment real quickly before we pivot to another question. The last thing I'll say on the spiritual intimacy is that for me, spiritual intimacy is a high value. It didn't used to be, it is today. Sexual intimacy is a lower value. It used to be the only value, but now it's a lower value because I can see for me as a person, not because of my age, but just because of the growth I've done, that there's more direction in different areas of building other intimacies. So what I wanted to say is that in the relationship that committed relationship that I was just in, is that spiritual intimacy was a huge part between us. And we lived together, and we would wake up in the morning time for us. I would still do my morning affirmation, but the morning time for us is that we would grab a little daily reading book. Doesn't matter what it is. And we would, for us, it was one of the codependence, language of letting go. And we would read the daily meditation from the codependence, language of letting go. And we would talk about it with each other. What does that mean for you? What does that mean for you? So now we're building intellectual intimacy. We're building the emotional intimacy. We're building the spiritual intimacy. Being able to have that shared experience. We're building more depth into our relationship. For us, we ate together at home. We would hold hands and pray. And when I say pray, it's not anything that's organized by religion. It would just be holding hands together and being able to have literally a physical connection. So that's the physical intimacy, and being able just to be in that quiet moment of gratitude, whatever that may look like, and being able to again have that shared experience so that we are building that spiritual intimacy, the emotional intimacy, and the physical intimacy with each other as a relationship. So those are just a couple of examples to show a difference between like an emotional intimacy or spiritual intimacy, physical intimacy.
I think you nailed it.
Different kinds of things.
How can someone connect to prayer who isn't religious? Because you mentioned that it doesn't have to be religious. How do you pray if you're not dear God, or you know what I mean? Like, how do you pray if you're not religious?
Yeah, I love that question. Right, complex question, and I am certainly not.
I know with you today.
Yeah,
Throw them at you.
And I'm certainly going to go on the official disclaimer and say that I am, quote unquote, not qualified to comment on that. I mean, I will comment, but I'm just saying, don't nobody come at me and saying I'm just I'm just giving my opinion. I'm not a pastor or anything like that. I'm not.
Yeah.
Don't come after me on it. But from my experience and my understanding, and again, just only in what so I grew up Catholic. And I went to Catholic school and I went to Catholic high school. So church, religion, rote prayers, check the box. Check, 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 and check again. However, as I've gotten into the space that I'm in, learning more about spirituality is the English word that I know that encompasses being able to share something that's a verbalized or be able to communicate is the word prayer. But being able to say prayer without being religious is just simply having a conversation or having a monologue with the higher power or the universe, whatever that may look like. And for me, it just allows me just to kind of get out of myself and just kind of unburden myself with a few things, or be in that space of gratitude and just say, like, you know what? I'm grateful to be here. Also, like, today's going to be a tough day. Just universe, bring on some more strength for me.
I
I don't
love
know.
that. So we could start with universe. Hey,
I don't know if it works.
universe, are you listening?
Yeah, I don't know if it works. It doesn't work, but I feel better.
Give it a go, right?
And my day gets better, just like having the morning meditation or the morning affirmation meeting. Like, my day goes better.
So if I want to just start praying, I'm going to say, "Hey, universe," and maybe start with gratefuls.
It's
Maybe
up
let's
to
list off 10 gratefuls. I'm grateful. I'm grateful I woke up today. I'm grateful for my toothbrush. I might be fucking grateful for your damn toothbrush, right? But we can get so deep into like despair and the ugliness of our lives. It can be tough to find what we're grateful for. But if we can really break it down to it, to be grateful, it must feel the paper. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like these gargantuan gratefuls, right? Because all the little ones, they really do add up.
Yeah, I love that. It's just like a little, like you said, just a little tiny action. Just takes a few seconds, and it's going to change the neurons, the neuron firing and the synapse firing in your brain to move away from that quote unquote negative thinking and move into being, you know, what the saying is, if you look for it, you find it. Well, I want to look for positive. I want to look for gratitude. I want to look for aspects that are make my life more uplifting. I can look for the stuff that will keep me down easily.
Oh, it's everywhere. Well,
Yeah. And a couple days ago, actually last Saturday, I was just in, I don't know why, and I don't need to figure out why, but I woke up in one of those stages of like, I had lots of fear around me, lots of sadness, like just tons of just being scared. And I recognized it because I'm like, oh, I recognize this feeling, depression. And recognizing like feelings aren't facts, Louie.
say it again. Say it
Feelings
again.
aren't facts. And the facts are like, you know, I have, like you said, I have toilet paper, I have a toothbrush. Like, here's the facts. And okay, what did I do? Took some action steps. Go on the affirmation meeting, talk to people, go be of service, go outside, go for a walk. And I'm not saying these just to be like minimize people's emotions. I'm only speaking about my own experience, that little by little, if you look for it, you'll find it. But I wanted to look for the positivity, and I went and I found it. I sought it out. And being able to be in the gratitude of that's a prayer. And it doesn't have to be, dear God. It just could be like, okay, universe, deep breath. Again, I'm going to go for a walk. Show me some birds, or show, like, I just want to see some great things.
Yeah.
And I love the gratitude. You know, one of the things is that, honestly, like, I'm grateful for electricity, clean water, being able just to, if I wanted to, open the tap and drink it if I wanted to.
These little things that we definitely take for granted, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we're on the inside. We should be so grateful for that abundance. Now we're moving. I don't know if you noticed this, but we're moving through your acronym here just like seamlessly. So we've talked about self-esteem, we've talked about openness, and being open with ourselves and with others in relationships, and setting those boundaries. No, I'm not listening. I'm not good at it. Or our date is 90 minutes, and reflecting us, evolving, and readiness. So what does evolving mean? Like, is that like, and what's the process look like? Because I know, like, now, Challaine, today, if I look back, I've definitely evolved, right? But what point are we do I'm trying to say, what point do we recognize or know that we're like in this pattern or in this new trajectory of evolving of where we were to where we are now?
Yeah, so each letter, like you said, of the word sober is a direct area of learning. SOBER, and actually the E is about evolving, as you were just saying. But we've actually just been talking all about E, which is evolving into other intimacies and learning about myself and learning about those intimacies for myself and with other people as well. And to your question specifically on evolving, it's a process. And I don't mean to just be like, oh, yeah, it's just a process and just kind of shirking it off. But
You don't get it, Daddy.
yeah, but it happens over time. And for me, the only way I know that if I'm evolving into different things or if I'm recovering is, well, I'm sorry, not only, there's two ways. Number one is if people are giving me feedback that I've never heard before, or they're giving
Or
me,
maybe you've heard it before, but you weren't listening.
could be, or they're giving me
Right.
feedback like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
I can see so much change in you. I'm like, wait, what? Like, okay. Because they don't have any dog in the fight. They don't have any gain by telling me that they can see, like, they don't get a bonus by saying those things, right? It's like they can notice like changes. I'm like, oh, wow, that's great. I love that. Thank you. And the second thing I was going to say is that how else do I see this or how else do I know I'm evolving is what I work with my clients all the time on is because I'm in the exact situation I've been in before so many times. And now I'm doing something different. So
So
before
pausing in that moment and being like, okay, I've been here before. We're not going to do this. We're going to do this because we have options,
yeah,
right? We have
right,
the option to choose.
right. I
And
can respond and not just react.
yes, I love
So that's
moving
the
on to
evolving.
yeah, and then readiness. Ready.
Woo!
What does that mean?
Readiness!
I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Ready, here we go. Well, readiness kind of goes hand in hand with openness, but openness needs to come earlier. I mean, like it does, because you have to start to be open to new things, new habits, new communication patterns, new, even it could be like right now I'm working with someone and I'm having her like go through every other day without makeup because it makes her, she has to show up authentically and can't just hide behind this whole way that she creates herself so that it's just this perception on the outside. She has to just sit still with herself. So that's the openness. But the readiness on the R
But
is
good girl, some lip gloss at least.
she can use no colored chapstick.
That was massively, right?
Okay. Yeah, and it makes her feel really uncomfortable because it's different, right? You were asking like before, like how did I feel when I had the boundary about no kissing? I felt uncomfortable because it was new behavior. So on the readiness on the R, it's the being ready to go out there and it's not like, oh, you have to finish SOBER before you can do things. That's not it at all. It's being ready to put yourself into different places at work, put yourself into a different job, put yourself into, hey, I always wanted to go back to school and now I can because I feel different. Being able to date differently, being able to put the word sober on your dating profile, recognizing like, you know what, like I have a client I've been working with for several years. All of her experience was with men. And then when she and I started working together, she's like, you know what? I don't think I like men. I think that I like women. So being in that space and being ready to start to put yourself forward into what that looks like. And going back to what you're saying, like not a judgment about anything, just being able to know you've got support around that with your program, Challaine, or with my program or other mentorships, whether it's in 12 step or not 12 step, or with your therapist or not. That's really one of the most important things that I've recognized is being able to have other humans, being able to work with you and guide you and mentor you. That's what I see really helps a lot of people. My clients being able to know that they've got someone in their corner on that on that readiness as they go out there and whatever that may look like, family, work, friends, or romantic relationships. Even if you're already in a partnership, married. One of the interviews I did a few weeks ago, the person who I was doing the interview, he'd been married for several years already. And he's like, I don't think this pertains to me. I'm like, it does actually. But because it's just getting more and more healthy in your relationships as you are in your own sobriety, as you define it.
So where's that fine line between readiness and fear, right? Because we have to get comfortable getting uncomfortable. And just taking that step, okay, I'm ready, I want to do this, but there's fear that is just like holding me back. When do I push through that fear? Or when is that is that real? And I should like hone in on that.
Yeah, super question. Really, really relatable, 100%. Because to me, when is it real fear or when is it just me feeling uncomfortable? And what does that
Because
look
I've
like?
never done this before, right? So
Right.
yeah, it's approachable.
Yeah, it is a human condition. And it's not like I should know better or I should be better or I should be stronger. That's all shame-based thoughts. Those are all shame-based kind of restrictions. But to your question specifically, in my experience, it goes back to the essence self-esteem. And it goes to not about sober relationship blueprint, but it goes to also having support around you. In my experience, and it doesn't have to be professionals, it doesn't have to be people you pay, but being able to live your life, which I do, live your life in consultation with others because I can't.
People
I
need
see my
people,
blind
man.
spots.
Yeah, people need people.
Yeah,
It's a fact.
I
It's a
can't
fact.
see my blind spots, but other people can. The people who are close to me, they're the ones that are going to be like, no, Louie, you're a good person. You don't suck when I'm sitting here. Like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm in fear. I'm like, no, you got this. You got this. And I'll sit away like, hey, no, like, that's not a thing you should go do. Right? And it's not because I can't make I make decisions all day long. But being able to live my life in consultation with others, just talking, hey, Challaine, what is your thought around this? Here's the situation. Because your perspective is going to be different than mine.
I
And
love
getting
that. I can't see my blind spots. That's what
right.
you said. Yeah.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be called blind spots, right? So that's the difference between, the having the readiness or the fear and the courage. Each year, it sounds really silly, but it really has helped me. Each year, I grab a word for the year and use that word of the year as my filter, as my lens for the future, for that year. And what I do, so this is 2024. My word for this year is resilience. That's the lens that I look through. And in 2022, it was courage. And it was directly, specifically feeling the fear and going through it anyway, having the courage to go through it. Talking to other people like, oh, you know what, like this weekend, there's something coming up here in Phoenix that's around sobriety, around recovery, and like, I don't want to go do it. Well, okay, Louie, why? What's the fear? Well, like, I don't want to be seen. I don't want to, like, I just want to show up and disappear and like hang out in the back and nobody sees me. Well, that's all old stuff. Because I don't feel worthy. I don't feel enough. Like, okay, feel it anyway and go do it. Okay.
Just scream my ears off. I love that. Okay, and then to wrap up my episodes, the 2 to 3 quick tips of anything. But you have 5 quick tips for creating healthy sober love.
Yeah, it's just been so great to be able to be here. And I just love being in the space with you and love being able to support you in the work that you do. None of this is easy. I don't know your whole story. I know a little bit of it. And it's just, it just is really inspiring to keep moving forward and be there to show other people that it can be done. And whatever that looks like, it's messy.
It looks different for everyone.
It looks different for everyone, and I stumble and I trip along the way, and maybe I kind of go back a little bit, but being able to move forward, just being able to be in that space with other people who want to help other people is just really, really just wonderful. I really appreciate that. And whatever I can do to support you as well. And some of the tips you were talking about. So I do have on the soberrelationshipblueprint.com, all one word. Sober Relationship Blueprint is a free download. So 5 quick tips for building a healthy, sober love relationship. And some of those tips are things I've gone through today is just being able to, again, be present for yourself, be present and respectful for the other person, being able to not look for the red flags, but also for yourself. Don't overshare, be able to sit in the space of trusting people. They have to earn the right to hear your story. But some of the things, just as I'll just say 2 quick tips here, 2 or 3 quick tips regarding sober relationships and sober dating. And one is to don't be afraid, have people around you to support you and encourage you and be your hype gals or hype guys, your cheerleaders, and have other people look at your profiles. And if you are a female interested in males, have a male look at your profile. Because that's what males are looking at. If you are a male that's interested in females, have a female. That's what I do with my clients. If you're female interested, in females, same. Male interested in males. The Sober Relationship Blueprint's not at all specific to any gender or any interest in dating orientation or relationship orientation. It applies to all people. So be able to be open, be authentic for yourself. Create a dating plan, reach out to me, work together with me, work together with other people, because that sets it up for you to have success. And also be able to, like you were saying, Challaine, is not be afraid to talk to other people and have people need people. Then just take time. Don't beat yourself up little by little, because being in the same situation and choosing a different behavior for yourself, like when I was like, hey, I'm on this date with this guy that's a solid neutral, and I'm like really not interested in having him kiss me, being able to say like, oh my gosh, no. Starting to have your own voice, those are the things that I work with people and I encourage people on. And be able just to keep going forward and show up in the space. If you're single and you want to date, just be able to go forward and have coaching around that. I had a dating coach before, because I can't be a dating coach, relationship coach, if I haven't been a coach.
Just because you know how to play the game, you still need a coach.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm sober and I've made all these mistakes, and I built Sober Relationship Blueprint off of my own. It's my own intellectual property, it's my own copyrighted information, but I still needed to receive a coaching.
Listen, Louie, what a fantastic episode this just was.
Woo!
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Quickly, where can people find you?
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Sober Relationship Blueprint.com, all one word. Again, Sober Relationship Blueprint.com, all one word. As I said, I've got the free download there for 5 quick tips on building a healthy, sober love relationship. And this is such a joy and such a pleasure and an honor to be able to be here as your guest as well.
Likewise, likewise. I follow Louie on Instagram. I like her posts. She's infectious. She's so much fun. Cute smile. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope everyone has the best day ever. And we'll chat soon on Let's Have a Chat. Super.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I hope you found it enlightening, inspiring, and it puts a little pep in your step. Please be sure to like, comment, and share. Together, we can change the world. Until next time, I hope you have the best day ever.